So in recent years, the terms climate change and global warming have been thrown around a lot within the scientific community and also within mainstream media. We're all aware of its existence and more or less the causes and consequences of climate change, but let's delve further into the overall impacts. About 2 decades ago, Al Gore coined the term global warming, but from rising greenhouse gases and increasing global temperatures. But after further research, we realized that climate change is much more than rising oceans and melting Arctic ice. I feel like it is really important to mention that the Earth is actually quite resilient, meaning it can bounce back from disturbances, and that the Earth has experienced these types of changes before, as in it's warmed and it's cooled. And these stages are called the Malkovich cycle. And think back to perhaps the time of the dinosaurs, lots of, jungles everywhere, lots of ocean. It was really warm, there were no glaciers. And now think back to maybe the Ice Age. There were glaciers everywhere. It was really cold. So in a way, global warming is a natural phenomenon. However, the rate at which the Earth's climate is changing is not so natural. And so the Milankovitch cycle dates back to at least 400,000 years. And the Earth has experienced dozens of drastic temperature changes. So we wonder, why is this happening so quickly? The principal cause of this increase in temperature is the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. It's gotten higher and higher over the past couple decades. Carbon dioxide basically traps heat on the Earth's surface. That's why we call it greenhouse gases. Today, our atmosphere has 406 parts per million carbon dioxide concentration, which is over 20% more concentrated than the concentration in 1950. And on average, the Earth's temperature has raised 0.99 to 1.2 degrees Celsius within the last 50 years. Now, it doesn't seem like much, but the increase in temperature is not evenly distributed across the Earth. In some places it's cooler, and in some places it's much warmer. Additionally, the oceans are much, not cooler, but they don't increase in temperature as quickly as over land. And an example of this is the polar region. The temperatures are much higher in recent years. It's not necessarily 1.2 degrees Celsius warmer. This is just an average of the global overall temperature increase. So rising oceans kind of makes us think of coastal cities such as Los Angeles, New York City, and Miami, cities that are really important to the American economy and culture. However, these impacts of climate change stretch further beyond the Western world. In particular, developing countries along the equator are disproportionately affected by climate change because their economies and culture rely much more heavily on the natural world than the United States. So let's take a look at the country of Palau. The country of Palau is located in the western Pacific Ocean, and the country is made up of a series of islands, meaning the economy relies heavily on fishing, agriculture, and tourism. The rising ocean levels causes saltwater intrusions into freshwater resources, making soils more saline and ultimately destroying harvests. Palau's coastal cities are becoming displaced, and therefore the country is taking a step back in its development, and therefore decreasing its overall economy. And additionally, overfishing in Palau's waters or even around the region has led to depletion of species, and that decreases tourism, which is the largest portion of Palau's revenue. So, after all of these really depressing and daunting statistics, it's pretty easy to have an apathetic attitude of, it's too late to make a difference. I urge you not to give in to this. Like I mentioned in the beginning, the Earth is very resilient. It bounces back, and it's experienced these types of changes before. You might be asking, what can I do to even make a difference? I don't even know where to start. For starters, you can start to consume less. Be resourceful with your purchases, buy stuff secondhand, and reduce your food waste. Secondly, drive less, carpool more, bike more, take to public transit, live in cities. And thirdly, be a good example. You now have knowledge. You understand the causes and effects of climate change. So don't give up. As college students, you are some of the most highly educated people in the world. I know it's hard to believe, but we are very lucky and privileged to have this opportunity. So utilize your education and be an example for the rest of the world. Thank you.